And fashion. Welcome to the Fashion Icon. And today we're going to be rocking. We have one of the most, amazing trailblazers, here in South Florida. He is, this guy, he is superb. A major fashionista. He's just like a class on his own. Wherever he goes, he takes the limelight from everyone. So Alexis, welcome. I've been watching you, and I said I gotta have him in my podcast because everybody, you're like the limelight wherever you go. I see you. You take everyone's shine away. You just walk in like the goddess have arrived.
Thank you for having me, Baron. I'm humbled. I'm grateful. I was waiting for this conversation. My first impression of Baron, we met, physically in swim week. And I had bumped into him at a show before, but I was like, he looks familiar because we know mutual people in common. And then the second night I bumped into him, the first thing he says, "Oh, I like this dress better." I was like, excuse.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gay, but I was checking him out. He looked great. He looked better than most girls in the damn fashion shows. Actually, he was just walking. I was like, oh, damn. He was like, I'm a people watcher. It's something that I do. Oftentimes, they look at me. It's like, look at him. He's just checking out that girl. And you know what I'm looking at? I'm looking, are their nails done? What other shoes are? The least thing that I'm looking at is just looking at the girl's ass. Honestly, I mean, I see a beautiful woman, I'm like, damn, she's hot, whatever. But after 46 years in 67 countries, I'm looking at something else.
And I looked impeccable. What was your first impression?
I love your style. It's something that I'm always looking. I look at people, and most people nowadays, they tend to underdress. And a rule in fashion that I've always learned, Alexis, is that I'd rather be overdressed and go to certain places and a simple, it's not simple, it's Prada, but anyhow, a simple t-shirt and a pair of jeans with a a pair of pants, it just makes a difference. A lot of these people, they have no sense of fashion, or they want to be so cool that they dress down with old rags and whatsoever. Not only men, but women as well. And one of the things that I've always admired about you, and it's like I wanted to ask you a question, is like, who does your makeup? I mean, because it's always on point.
Yeah, people assume that I have some glam people come to my house, do my makeup every day, but I can't depend on that. So I had to learn on my own how to do my makeup for content, and it took me a lot of years to perfect it.
And how did you stumble? I mean, tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you discover that you were so into fashion? What was your inspiration to say, I want to be a fashionista? I want to be, an inspiration to others.
I think, my background comes like many people in Miami. I come from an immigrant family. My family's Cuban. They came in 1961. I went through public school, private school. The fashion part was nothing. It was slow. It wasn't like when I was little, oh my God, I love fashion. I want to be in runways. I want to be a model. It was never like that. It's just something that happened. I just have an eye and a vision to look good. And I know what looks good on me. I have a vision when I know a girl is going to be a top girl in the industry. When I know I have a vision for aesthetic. I think that's what it is.
Okay. And what was your first inspiration to say, just like, this is the route that I want to take. I want to go ahead and show others how to dress well by doing it myself?
I don't think, I think people just admire me, or I inspire them from the content that I do online, which was something that was on and off for years until I decided to take it seriously a year ago, a couple months ago. And it's been growing at such a rapid pace as I wasn't expecting that. But it's a craft that you have to perfect. So many years. I was actually listening to Grant Cardone. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He was saying in a video how he accumulated the majority of his wealth came in the last 10 years, but it was a lot more work, 20, 30 years, but the majority was the last 10. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like I started doing content since 2016, but I'm seeing results now. So you always think when you're starting, you want to see results now. And it takes time to perfect your craft. You have to fail a lot of times. You have to perfect how to edit, how to do your makeup, how to dress, how are you going to get your angles, your lighting. When you're doing this by yourself, you're the producer, director, glam, everything.
And I mean, in taking that into consideration, what advice would you give to someone like yourself that wants to get into modeling, or that wants to be, someone like you, that that you create your own content, and you're kind of like an inspiration, because you are an influencer, but in difference, and I'm not gonna write out a lot of the influences here in Miami, but in difference to them, you kind of like, you keep it real. You're an inspiration to others, and you're not into this person said that,
Right.
use person and that,
There's-
and the reputation that I got from other people is that, look at him, he's always on point. And I saw your your Instagram when you started out, was all about the makeup and your faces and all that stuff, and then you went evolving.
Yeah. So that, I guess my journey was, my first love was makeup, beauty, makeup. But I felt when I started, it was 2016 doing makeup, because there was a boom online with the beauty industry, with a bunch of men starting to do makeup tutorials online. And Manny MUA, there was James Charles, there was Jeffree Star. And I was like, I had never seen that before, because Instagram started 2010, but this boom started 2016 happening. And I was learning how to do makeup from watching tutorials on YouTube, online. And I was like fascinated. I was enamored how you could change your face with paint, with products, with cosmetics. So I was like, this looks fun. I'm going to try this. And that's when it started in 2016. I started with playing with makeup. It looked atrocious at the beginning because you're learning, but that didn't stop me from keep going, keep practicing. Practice makes perfect. And then I was working retail for 8 years in the mall. The pandemic happened, which that's why we have a mutual friend. Baron and I both know Vanessa. She's the CEO of Diva. When the pandemic happened, I met Vanessa in a very strange time in the world. The week I start at Diva, a lot of people don't know I worked at Diva. The week I started at Diva, the world shut down. So when the world was shutting its doors, Diva had its doors open. That's the same week that I started at Diva, was when Miami closed everything, the mall shut down. Later on, as I'm working at Diva, I receive a letter saying that everyone was being laid off and we don't know when you're gonna come back. So thank God, God guided me, and I just walked in there. And I didn't know I didn't know who Vanessa was. I didn't know. I had applied from Indeed, a application on Indeed, and I knew I was gonna get it because I had a bunch of experience in retail. I had 8 years in experience doing a bunch of Black Fridays. That's all I would do. But I had no idea that the work that I was gonna do at Diva is a lot faster. It's fast fashion for a reason. You're working at an extreme pace that's completely different than the mall.
Totally, totally, and and especially with her, she's my goat, because she's just, I was there from the get go, from the beginning, from her struggling. Hey, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and the dad and her husband Jose, and we all chipped in and put our little bit into it, and
She's a
did,
force to be reckoned with.
she is. She started out. She was blessed in that store, and when the pandemic hit, I think that a lot of bad things happened in the pandemic. Unfortunately, she lost her dad
I was there
during
when that
that,
happened.
and it was a sadden time. But for her business was, she started, rising those millions because
You couldn't tell that she was going through a horrible time because she kept showing up to work.
Yeah.
She kept going.
Well,
the
that
business.
the showing up to work, I believe that it was
A coping mechanism.
Right. It was a like you said, a coping mechanism for her to go there, and it's like her and Marta, her mom, as we call
Yeah.
her, Linda, and stuff like that. Is she's just grown to another level. And she's someone, like you said, a force to reckon with, because she is so determined. She is the only woman that I listen to. She'll tell me things that
She's
it's like,
blunt.
I hate you. that only lasts like half a second, and like, goddamn, she's right. So I love her. I really admire her, and she's opened doors to so many people, and that's part of what we try to do here. Get people like you, influencers. They really influence, because there's a lot of influencers out there that they just go around and I'm wearing a Prada and I'm wearing this
Gucci.
and it's not even theirs, or it's not even a Gucci, it's a Gucci. But anyhow, it's
Yeah.
something that you're sharing your experience. So, what advice would you give to a model that wants to make it in the world of modeling and fashion? What advice can you give that girl for her to succeed?
I think my best advice is just to start where you're at. A lot of people think I'm going to start on Monday when I lose 5 pounds. I'm going to start next week. Start where you are right now, in the moment. If you don't like how you look, you're going to like how you look in 6 months, because you're forcing yourself to get in the industry. You're jumping off the cliff. You're getting into action. So like at the beginning, I didn't like my makeup, but I kept having to force myself, looking at the videos, editing them, and having to perfect that each time. But I had to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere, and don't expect people to be giving you out handouts and opportunities. You have to put in the work first.
That is 100% true, and one of the things that you said earlier in the conversation about problems and all that, I'm always saying that adversities are nothing but opportunities
Yeah.
disguised as a problem for you to learn and grow.
I agree 100%.
Okay.
I read that Walt Disney World, over 300 banks denied him funding for Walt Disney
Of
World.
course.
And over 217 investors denied funding for Starbucks. So you have to, a no is not a no. It's just not for that person. You have to keep going.
Yeah, I believe that in sales they said that sales starts when they say no.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's no. Well, you need to find like, and whenever they come, models to do this, I give them the advice, and a lot of the things that you have said, I've actually have a pamphlet that we give away totally free, courtesy of our sponsor, Mirta de Perales. Once again, Mirta, thank you for sponsoring our podcast. You've been wonderful for the past 15 years, sponsoring all of our beauty pageants. And Mirta de Perales, I'm going to give you a basket of her products. It's one of the most amazing hair care products that
I
there
don't
is.
have a wig, Milta, but invite me to a Miss Universe pageant. I'll be there.
Certainly, but anyhow, it's some of the things that we give away for free, kind of like to teach people, to share the knowledge that they can become anything they want to in life.
You can.
As long as you have the determination, you have that. So, what is next for you? What's next for Alexis?
I don't know what's next. I'm just focused right now on my craft, on my platforms, growing them constantly, posting, editing. That's how I spend my days, is posting, making, filming, editing. And I want hopefully next year to be represented by an agency. I hear an agent will negotiate your deals with brands to not leave money on the table. So I don't know, but I'm hoping, I have high hopes for social media to make money off of it in the years to come, now that I'm young and I'm not 50 years old, because at 50 years old, I want to invest in businesses and have a legacy.
Well, you're going down the right path, and don't be scared of being older. It's like, as long as you keep up with the trends and all of that. Myself, I guess that I'm a testament to that you can make it at any age. I was blessed that in my early age of my careers, I blew up, and I was practically untouchable in the 90s and a
Right.
great part of the 2000s. But it's like things happen. 2008 crash, a divorce, and a whole bunch of things, and I had to restart several times in my life, and here I am now. I travel all over the United States, doing seminars, doing photos. I pretty much control the Eastern Seaboard, doing all the beauty pageants. I have the podcast, which is inspirational for others to feel that it doesn't matter how young or old you are, you can, as long as you keep on. I was blessed to be able to adapt to the technology and learn from people, younger people like yourself, how can we make this grow? And I believe that you're in a great place
And you
to
believed
launch
in
your career.
yourself.
Yeah, always. I'm the type of guy that, the people that know me intimately, they're like, hey, where'd you leave your ego? It's like, it's so big it couldn't fit in the
Yeah.
building,
Yeah.
because I've never seen another photographer as competition. I see them as a colleague. It's like, and I'm not afraid to go and talk. So many girls and people miss the boat because they go to places like yourself, where I approached you, and I just talk to anybody, and I network with everybody. And you're here today, and you didn't know this because I was talking to a mutual friend of Vanessa that was also one of our models, Liz, and she's like, "You know him? Oh my God, I love him." She's like, "Who, Alexis?" And I says, "Yeah, but don't you follow him?" And I says, "I do, but I don't go scrolling through everything." She's a realtor, and she's a friend of Vanessa as well.
I have to meet her.
And she was like, "Oh, I love him. This and that. He's always so on point and all that. You should have him on the podcast." And I says, "Done deal." So I said, that's when I went up to you and I said, and it was someone else's idea, and because you have so much to share with your knowledge, with your inspiration, for other women and men that they can do
Yeah.
that and just do what you love what you do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they have a big vision or a big plan, they try to seek validation from people around. But sometimes people can't see your vision. You can't expect someone to say, "Oh, yeah, that's a good idea," but they don't have the vision that you have. They're not going to believe in you. If you see the vision, go for it, because you're the only one that can see it. Nobody, if it's such a big goal, it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it.
Well, nothing that is easy is going to be,
Yeah.
worth it at the end of the day. It's like I show you the outside of studio,
I saw a construction site.
and and it's like now I value it more because it was hands on. I cut out the arrows, I painted them, I painted the names, I chopped down the trees, and I did that. And people says, "Well, Baron, man, you have everything." And I said, "Well, I don't have everything. I mean, I do have everything because everything to me is my children."
Right.
Anybody that knows me, they know that is my number one priority.
100%.
I've sacrificed relationships because of my children. They're my life. And but when you have something and you can just sit back there, and I smoke my cigar and I'm like, damn, I did this.
You're at
and
peace.
then yeah, and then people want to come in and they take pictures and they want to do that, the things, and I was like, it makes me feel good that they feel good for something that I did. So
Right.
I'm sure that you must have that same feeling
Yeah.
from people. What has been your biggest accomplishment?
My biggest accomplishment, I think my biggest accomplishment has been being myself, because it's taken me to places that I could have not. I don't have to wear dresses, I don't have to wear makeup, but I'm being myself. I think there's a big misconception. I get a lot of comments online. "Oh, he's trying to be a woman. You're not a woman. He's trying to compete with women." I'm not trying to compete with women. I'm not a woman. I never planned to be a woman. I don't. That's not something that. And it's funny because I don't wear a wig. I don't have implants. I don't have boobs. If I wanted to be a woman, I would have been a woman. But I think a lot of those comments come from insecurities. People are assuming things that they have no idea about. And what was the question?
No, you're fine. You went right on to it. What was your biggest accomplishments?
Oh, my biggest accomplishment
But
was
that you said it. That
being
is
myself.
That is being genuine. Is part of ingredients that I found through a lot of the people that I interview. Is like dedication, determination. Like you said, jump off of a cliff.
Jump off.
As long that you know that you're going to survive.
And-
Okay. Like a problem, it's only an adversity. Keep going. You're gonna do. How many people have gone bankrupt, and they've gone through it? I have a story of a friend of mine that, he lost everything, and later on he found out that a patent that he had done, the Chinese took it, and then he went on over, got the attorneys, got it back, and he's multimillionaire. Okay.
A lot of people. One thing about jumping off the cliff that I want people, if there's something that you can take away from King Batty, is that's the my name online, the persona that I go by, is don't let fear dictate your life. You're always gonna feel emotions. You're gonna feel sad. You're gonna feel scared, but don't let it consume you. Some people just lay in the fear, and that let controls them from not moving on. You have to feel it and then walk past it, because you have to want what's on the other side more than the fear that you're feeling in the moment. And I don't let fear dictate my life. My family, I'm very family oriented. My family at the beginning was always very scared for me. Not judgmental, but scared of what could happen to me outside. And I wasn't gonna let that stop me from doing what I wanted to do, what I felt like what I was exploring. And but with reason, because family is always gonna be worried. And I have such a loving and accepting family. I'm very blessed. But don't let fear control your life. It's very ugly to go live life and then wait in front of God. You're gonna be the only one standing in front of God to say, God asks you, how did you live life? Oh, I was scared to leave the relationship. I was scared to leave my job. I was scared to go open that business. I was scared to move to that city. No, say, I failed 87 times, but I succeeded one time. And that's the only one that you need.
That is correct. I write, very few people know, but I write. I've been writing since 1997, and I write a lot of quotes. And one of them is, let fear be the fuel to success.
Yes, I believe in that.
And, believe it or not, I used to be such an introvert. I would be scared of my own shadow. And I just walk into rooms and it's like the earth tremble.
Yeah.
And it's like I just going up to someone. People are like, did you know that person? Says, no. How did you know? It's like I just go up to it. And like my son Dylan, oh my God, he's worse than me. He's like the CIA. He'll meet somebody and he interrogates them. He finds out everything. And I'm like, where the hell did he get all this information? People just open up, but you'll be surprised. People, you ask people something and they'll volunteer the information. Mm-hmm. Love your nails.
Thank you, Bailaca.
No, I'm not gay. I just love the guy, the way that he dresses. Bro, yeah, I see you judging me. I don't give a shit anyways.
By Carolina, Bailaca.
But anyhow, it's I admire because of that, because you have that genuine personality, which I think it's key to any business. Is when you're genuine about it, when you help other. Another things that I've always read is like you'll have a successful business the moment that you find a solution for someone else's problem. They're going to want to buy from you.
100%.
Okay.
I think in this business, it's true what you say. There's a lot of disingenuine people in this industry, in modeling and in the influencer industry, in the community. So, but you can't let that stop you. You have to network. You have to, meet people, get to know people, make connections. You never know who you're sitting next to. Always be kind, regardless of who the person is. You should always be kind anyway, because you never know where life takes you.
True that. And going back to that, what would be if you had like to build a cake of success? What would be the top 5 ingredients? Top 5 ingredients that you can say, with this, you will be successful.
Your faith, be resourceful, be resilient, be disciplined, and be yourself.
True. Okay, that is true in any business, and it's funny how a lot of successful people like yourself that come into the podcast, they always say the same thing.
Really?
And it's incredible and intriguing how we all have the same thing in common.
It sounds cliche. People are probably like, oh, these people are liars. But until you actually do it and you're in the actions of doing it, you'll feel that. Because I don't want to wake up and do my makeup and put on a dress and start filming for hours. But you have to have that discipline.
No, I didn't want to get up in the morning and going out and
Do
get
this.
a jigsaw and start cutting up wood and starting painting. I ruined my manicure. But- and the whole thing, but I went on out and I did
Exactly.
and at
it
the end
pays
of
off. It will pay off.
yeah. It always does, and those are key ingredients for people that that it will drive them to success. So I once again I want to thank you for being in the podcast and sharing a little bit of information, a little bit of your journey, and there's a lot more that people can learn from you. So if they want to reach you, what Instagram is it that they can get you to?
Of course. It was a pleasure you having me on your podcast. I love this conversation. You guys can find me on at I am King Batty on all platforms. It's all the same name. And also on YouTube, I have a YouTube King Batty.
Okay, make sure that you hit that button, subscribe, like the video, and make sure that you check out our main sponsor, Mirta de Perales, with the greatest product in there.
Yeah.
So I leave you with those 5 tips that Alexis has given you for success. Make sure that you follow them, because for sure it will be. This is not just a regular influencer. This is a very positive-minded influencer that can share a lot of knowledge for you. So be fashionable. Make sure that you follow us here at the Fashion Icon.
The perfect eye cream to diminish all your lines and your eye bags. The collagen elastin 3-in-1 Mitad de Perales.